I was a warrior. I was a champion. I was a hero. Ha! I was 8. At that age, I lived a fantasy existence within the lonely reaches of my bedroom. I vanquished evil with my imagination as the heroes of the big screen became my role models. I was Davy Crockett, valiantly defending the Alamo. I swung my toy rifle to ward off the Mexican army threatening to take over my bed. I was Errol Flynn, leading the charge of the Light Brigade into the Valley of Death, although my valley was about 8 feet long. Yes, I died many dramatic deaths, standing up for what was right. When I ventured from my seclusion, evil always seemed to win. In my everyday world, drugs and violence seemed to be the norm. I dealt with bullies by avoiding them. This strategy worked well until I was 13 and discovered the Garden of Eden. The public schoolyard was the center of teenage social life in the Heights. In one section of the yard was a garden whose 10-foot-high fence ringed in an area of overgrown bushes withholding view of its interior. The druggies cut openings in the fence and used this area to get high. Thus it attained the ironic name, Garden of Eden. Sometimes I would get away to a hidden corner of the garden and play my guitar. One day, while I was strumming, I heard a commotion. The Provenzano boys, 2 of the area's meanest bullies, were beating a boy unmercifully. I stood frozen and did nothing. Where was Davy Crockett and Errol Flynn when this boy needed them? Instead of rushing to his defense, I remained hiding in the bushes. A coward. Guy, the older Provenzano boy, known in the neighborhood as Mad Guy, made his younger brother Tony beat the defenseless boy. Tony seemed reluctant, acting only to appease his older brother. Eventually, they let the boy go, and Guy left the Garden of Eden. Tony, however, stayed behind. As I packed up my guitar, I heard sobbing. I peered through the bushes and heard Tony crying. Young men didn't cry in the 1960s because it was seen as a sign of weakness. I realized then that Tony was as trapped in this world as I was. He did things he hated only for his brother's acceptance. I quietly snuck home. Around dusk, I heard the wailing sirens and saw the flashing of what seemed to be 10,000 lights. I ran to the yard to see the EMTs loading Tony into an ambulance. The whispers of the crowd spread the story. Tony had been huffing glue and had gone too far. He might have died if his brother hadn't found him. I suspected Tony might have indeed wanted to die. As months passed, the whole neighborhood speculated on what had happened to the younger Provenzano boy. On a warm spring day, I found out. As I played my guitar in the Garden of Eden, Tony stumbled upon me. He walked awkwardly, ever-present drool forming at his mouth. The constant, confused expression on his face gave proof to a rumor that he had suffered severe brain damage. He now had the thoughts and emotions of a small child.
You play good? Play again.
From the old Tony, these words would have been a demand. But from this Tony, it was simply a request. I played for him then, till late that summer. I don't want to lose you, this good thing that I got, 'cause if I do, I would surely lose a lot, 'cause your love is better than any love I know. It's like thunder, lightning, the way you love me is frightening. I better knock on wood, baby. One day, I rescued an old stringless toy ukulele and gave it to Tony.
My guitar?
Your guitar. When I played his favorite song, he would pretend to play along and so enthusiastically knock at the right time. I was afraid he would shatter his instrument, but a broad smile never left his face. We played each day from then on. That August, Tony died from a brain hemorrhage. A few days after the funeral, I went to the grave and I put the ukulele on it. I was probably the only one who realized that Tony had been happier in the final months of his life than he ever had been. And so was I. I learned a valuable lesson. Heroes come in many forms. And sometimes, to vanquish the enemy, you don't have to slay him. You just gotta make him smile.